Welcome to the Somatic Coaching Academy podcast. I'm Ani Anderson.
And I'm Brian Trzaskos. Join us as we explore the science
and art of trauma-sensitive somatic practices and tools.
Strengthen your practice as a coach, therapist, or holistic professional.
Master the art of motivating even the most challenging clients when you understand how to tap into and unlock your client's complete holistic intelligence.
If you want to learn the most cutting-edge, research-supported skills for personal and professional mastery, you've come to the right place. Let's get this conversation started.
Hi, and welcome to the Somatic Coaching Academy podcast. Hey, Brian.
Hello, Ani.
Hi there. We're on episode 77 today. We're
77.
Talking about how coaches can get better outcomes and retain clients by incorporating somatic exercises into their sessions.
Into their sessions. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, like exercises, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2.
Yeah.
We need to talk before we get rolling on this topic, actually, about somatic exercises.
Yeah, so somatic exercises, also known as somatic practices.
But not by everybody.
Not by everybody.
Because some people are just calling them somatic exercises.
Yeah. So, and I think actually we've done a past podcast about this, right? About the difference or the...
Here's the difference. People don't know the difference. So they're either calling them somatic practices, somatic exercises, centering exercises, and all manner of other things.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So somatic meaning there's something body focused about it.
I just think it's funny,
right?
Because we live in a culture that like prides ourselves on the exercises.
Yeah, well, and that's very true. Yeah.
So we're going to call it exercise.
So if you're searching, if you were to do a search for somatic exercises and somatic practices, there's probably more writing that would come up about somatic exercises.
And because I've done it, I can tell you, you're actually going to find like exercises in those somatic exercises Google searching. Sometimes when you search somatic practices, you'll find things about breath work and meditation that you may or may not find when you're looking up somatic exercises. Sometimes when you look up somatic exercises, you'll literally find exercises.
Yeah, right.
And sometimes they are infused with breath work and or meditation. Sometimes they're literally exercises done slowly.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah.
So it's kind of a grab bag.
Yeah. So maybe we need to talk about what we're talking about when we talk about somatic exercises.
That sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
What are we talking about?
What are we talking about? Well, so we're really talking about, again, somatic exercises. Somatic practices for us are exercises or practices that have a body focus because they're somatic. So we're kind of paying attention to what's going on inside of the nervous system. And how do we know what's going on inside of the nervous system? Well, we are sensing what's going on. We're using our senses and picking up sensations that are going inside of the body, or what's called our interoception. So our interoception are the sensations that come from our body into our brain for processing. Now, there's also, by the way, proprioception, which is information that comes from our musculoskeletal system that brings information into the brain. And so sometimes somatic exercises can also include proprioceptive input as well as interoceptive input. But on some level, we are paying attention, really kind of bringing in a level of mindfulness, if you will, to what we're experiencing sensation-wise in our bodies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think if you're interested in somatic practices or somatic exercises, you do need to get clear about what it is that you're looking for, because you will notice nowadays, because somatic is kind of a buzzword, people will slap it on like a sticker onto stuff. So you really want to be intentional about what it is that you're looking for and the outcomes that you're looking for. Like,
correct.
But Brian was saying, like, when we talk about it, we're talking about nervous system regulation.
Yeah.
And actually using the body to regulate the nervous system. So it is good to get more clarity on what we're talking about.
Yeah, sure.
And what other people are talking about if you're looking at those things.
Yeah, totally. So just as an example of what you're talking about, Ani, from kind of a kind of marketed type perspective, like both Tai Chi and Pilates are both technically somatic exercises, right?
Yeah.
But you're going to get different outcomes by practicing them.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of, like what you're saying is you have to know kind of what you're going after.
Yeah.
But how can coaches in particular,
Right.
like, so you're doing coaching, and how can it be beneficial for you to actually learn how to do somatic exercises, aka somatic practices,
Right.
with your clients in order to get better outcomes and also help actually retain clients, which
Yes.
is going to help your business.
Yes. So, what we're talking about is using the somatic practices and somatic exercises that we teach here at the Somatic Coaching Academy. We do certain things in a certain way here
Right.
to
Yeah.
get certain outcomes. And, I think that it's easy for coaches to learn with us and then integrate into their sessions because some people will think, well, I want to include somatic exercises. I'm going to go get a Pilates
Correct. Yeah.
certificate or something like that. And I have found that for some people, unless they're really wanting to shift their practice to pretty exclusively a body practice,
Yeah.
like I'm going to be a body coach, like I'm going to be a yoga coach or a
Right.
Pilates coach, it can be challenging to incorporate certain somatic practices or somatic exercises into coaching because not all of your clients are going to be up for it, want to do it. And you got to kind of corral people or convince people. And the somatic practices and exercises that we teach here are not like that. They're very unassuming. Like your
Mhm.
clients are going to very easily be interested and get on board with you about doing them because of the nature of
Yeah.
them. Whereas it can be more challenging to integrate other things like yoga and Pilates or even Tai Chi or
Sure. Yeah.
Qigong. We do these things specifically because they're really easy to integrate into coaching
Yeah,
sessions.
exactly. And when we talk about coaches, like who are we actually talking about? Well, we're talking about executive coaches. We're talking about career coaches. We're talking about
Life coaches,
life
parenting
coaches,
coaches.
parenting coaches. So whatever kind of coaching it is that you do, what really makes a coach, if I'm kind of like on board with this, and you can let me know, is helping people get an outcome that they don't have right now.
Partnering with people to help them to improve their lives. And so there's going to be therapists who use coaching and leaders and managers who use coaching and teachers who use coaching. So it's what the conversation we're having today is for all of you.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. And how can you leverage using somatic exercises to help get better outcomes and actually keep bringing clients back? Okay. So maybe we're on the map now.
I think so. And, maybe one more thing.
Okay.
We come from a background of being more body centered body people into people who are doing somatic coaching. And I think that one of the reasons why I think that's important is it is really, it can be really different to try to, like I was saying, include certain body practices into any old conversation where you're having a conversation with people and improving their lives. And the somatic practices can really
Mhm.
supercharge your practice. It can help you grow your practice. It can help you to in so many ways with your clients, but not necessarily just because they're somatic practices.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Okay, so what are some of the top reasons? Let's kind of dig into this. One of my top reasons is when to use or why to use somatic exercises with a client. One of my favorite places to do them is actually at the beginning of a initial like a intensive session or a deep dive session. So when I do my practice, my private work with clients, I'll often start off a program with like 2 or 3 hour session in order to really kind of set the whole tone for the whole session and do a deep dive. And I love using somatic practices or exercises as a preparation for that time together.
Why is that?
Well, because I think it basically helps to center a person to be able to be present with the work that we're doing together. It also helps to kind of smooth out the nervous system a little bit. So a lot of time working with people, there can be a lot of agitation in the nervous system. And I don't mean that like a negative thing, like people are agitated, but their nervous system is kind of agitated. Their nervous systems kind of feel oftentimes frayed a lot of times, like not afraid, but like Frayed, right? Like they feel like they're afraid, and it's very difficult then for people to be able to do deeper work and to be able to kind of get into a sense of their purpose and their meaning, what's important to them, what they really want to have out of this program or out of their life and the work, when their nervous system is kind of frayed like that. So the somatic practices in the beginning and then during those deep dives really help to keep people centered, present, anchored, and open
Hmm.
and curious to the process.
Hmm. Yeah, one of the things that I see people using somatic practices really well is in having it be a separate offering, Brian, where
Yeah.
they run classes.
Hmm.
And you can also run workshops and retreats where you either do basically a whole workshop or retreat on somatic practices. You can also incorporate the somatic practices into workshops and retreats.
Yep.
But just to go with the classes here for a
Yep.
second, um, I think it's over our years in working with people, it's been really helpful to diversify what we're offering. I'm not talking about diversify our services like we're going to offer coaching and we're going to offer, making coffee. Like, no, I'm not talking about offering different services. I'm talking about offering things in a different way, diversifying how you offer things. So I'm going to offer classes, I'm going to offer workshops, I'm going to offer one-on-one. And so people running those somatic practices classes, I think it's just brilliant. It helps people to practice their stuff. It's funny because people might say they want to learn how to practice at home or they want to practice at home, but people really want to practice with us.
Hmm.
They want to practice together. And it gives people accountability and reasons to do it. And then they get good at it. So running classes is just an awesome way to serve clients in so many ways.
Yeah, and to grow your business for sure.
Really
Right.
helps to grow your business.
And because of just to build on what you're saying, Ani, when we had our wellness center, our brick and mortar, and this is one of the primary ways that we actually built our business, is that we were both seeing private clients, but we also ran
Classes.
classes. And so a weekly or a couple time weekly somatic practices, course centering class or something of the like. And people would come to the classes.
Yep.
And then oftentimes after the class, people come up and go, "Hey, can I chat with you for a second? I've got this problem. Can you help me with it?" And I'd say, "Sure, let's go ahead and make an appointment."
Right. Let's have some
And so
sessions.
now you've turned a class student into a private client. And then
And vice versa.
and vice versa. When you're done working with a private client, you say, "Hey, how about coming to these classes we do regularly?" They're like, "Great." So they come to the classes regularly, and then when they need you again, they say, "Hey, I've got this thing I've had trouble with. I wonder if we can make it a session to work together." Sure. So in other words, the classes keep people in a container, keep them in a really healthy, supportive, nourishing container where they always know that you're available to them because they can just tap you on the shoulder and say, "Hey, can we make an appointment to work?" Now, here's the other thing is that the people in your classes will bring more people.
Yeah.
So they invite friends to come to the classes. They invite friends to come to your next workshop. And so now that becomes another avenue for the new person to come in and say, "Oh my gosh, I didn't realize you did that. I wonder if we can have a session." So it kind of the private work and the classes kind of when you set it up really well, they feed each
They
other. And
do.
that's a wonderful way to grow your practice.
And to grow community if that's
Yes.
something that you're interested in too, because your people are going to meet each other and they're going to be really interested in each other, which is great. Because that helps you to grow your business when you're building a community.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's like a kind of a ninja move in my experience. So if you're
100%.
not doing that as a
It can
coach, like that can really amplify your
it
business.
can be challenging as a coach, I think, to help people to build community and to kind of keep people around you because if they're not on program, they're not on program.
Yeah.
Maybe they're going to want to come to take a group program, but maybe they're not. So how do you kind of keep people around you all the time? The classes are a brilliant way to
Really
do
way to
that.
do that. Yep, exactly, exactly. Okay, so another really top reason, we talk about this one a lot, but let's just talk about it again because here we are. Another top reason to know how to do somatic exercises and somatic practices as a coach is that in the event that you're working with your clients and they become dysregulated, their nervous system becomes dysregulated during a session, do you have the practical tools to help bring them back into a sense of regulation so that they don't leave your session dysregulated and just kind of spun out and then ineffective or injured or re-traumatized for a period of time afterwards?
And I hate to say it because it's either not good for the client or it's not good for the client and it's not good for you. We want to always do our due diligence with our clients. Absolutely. And if somebody's leaving your session dysregulated and you don't know what to do about it, they could actually leave the session and think it's your problem
Correct. Yeah.
or it's something with the program that's a problem. So, you know, it's just such a really good idea to kind of, I was going to say like bulletproof your practice, like to trauma proof your
Well, it's really
practice.
to trauma. Yeah, it's really to trauma inform your practice.
Yeah, so that you're doing no harm, you're doing your due diligence with your clients, and also like when somebody has something that's really tough come up, or even it's mildly tough come up, and you can be with them with it, and you can handle it, and you have the skills, man, not only does that feel amazing, like the client just they're so grateful.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're the first person to really be able to sit with them during that difficult thing and not make it a problem.
Mm. And not feel like you have to make it better,
No,
right?
just be with them with
Yeah.
it. It's so powerful.
Yeah, so that kind of leads into another kind of top reason is the idea of co-regulation. That when, as a coach, when you do your own somatic practices and your own somatic, let's say, exercises regularly that are kind of based in this holistic understanding, like we're working on all levels of our nervous system, complete somatic intelligence. When you do those practices as a professional, just like what Ani's saying, when someone else starts to get a little unsettled or a little kind of dysregulated outside of the window of tolerance during a session, oftentimes it's not even a matter of what we say. It's just a matter of who we are, how we
How we
be with it,
be.
how we be with it.
Yeah.
And when we're really settled and stable within ourselves, that creates a what we call a co-regulation opportunity, which we've done a past podcast on co-regulation too, I
Hmm.
believe somewhere back there. When we have this co-regulation opportunity, it actually kind of invites the client into becoming more regulated just by being in relationship with you.
And this is a more masterful skill. So if you've only been a coach or, you're a therapist or a teacher or whatever person that works with people and you've only been doing it for a few years and you haven't actually intentionally tried to learn these skills, you probably just don't know how to do it. Like it's a skill to learn and it's a skill to master.
Hmm.
It's a mastery thing. And then when you do, you're going to be the person who people just want to be with and feel better when they're around you
Hmm.
because of how you be. So, sometimes I think it's important to talk about because sometimes people think, well, that's just how you are, Brian. It's just because of how you are. These are skills,
Hmm.
they can be learned and they can be mastered. So anybody can do it
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have another one? Another top reason why um, coaches would use or leverage somatic exercise, somatic practices?
because clients like it and are asking for it.
Oh, okay.
I have clients who, their clients will be asking for meditations, be
Yeah.
asking for
Mhm.
guided visualizations. They will be asking for practices. One thing people ask for, we were just talking about it last week, is morning routines.
Yes. Yes.
So that's something that so many clients ask for. They ask for a plan, they ask for strategies, and it's a fantastic thing to be able to offer up to our clients because they're asking for it. And it's just a great way to, because we have these like, magical tools in our backpack. Um, Clients like it. So it helps us to increase our like factor as well with our clients. We're just like really in service.
Mhm. Yeah. So, and it's kind of interesting, Ani, right? Because, we've both been doing, let's just say meditation for a moment for several decades now, right? Not for several, but a few decades now. And remember, a few decades ago, meditation was like weird. No one was asking for meditation.
Yep.
Meditation was something that weird
Don't
people
talk
did
about it.
in ashram somewhere. And so don't talk about that you're doing meditation. And now people are asking for meditation. So obviously there's been some type of transition
Yeah.
in
Into the cool
awareness.
factor.
Well, yeah, I mean, because there's more research. It's like search meditation now. You're gonna get a million hits on it, maybe several million hits. So and when it comes to coaching, what I really know is that the next frontier are somatic exercise and somatic practices.
Yeah, I think yoga really opened that up
Yeah.
because yoga became really popular. And I don't necessarily think that yoga is the thing to do with all your clients. Not all your clients are going to want to do yoga with you. but when you incorporate somatic practices, they can still do the things that get the benefits that they're looking for, sometimes in a really awesome way.
Mhm.
Um, and it's just the right match.
Yeah.
Because having the right match is really
Yeah.
important.
I will say about yoga too, I agree with you. Yoga kind of opened up a lot. And yoga actually, in some ways, kind of fell short a little bit too, because in the Western culture, we actually kind of did something to yoga that yoga wasn't meant to have happened to it. Right. In the Western world, we made yoga about the cool clothing and the mats
Yoga's
and
like, you did me wrong.
yeah, and I'm not saying that we don't go to yoga and we don't feel better afterwards, but I can't help but laugh. A few months ago, I saw an advertisement on one of my social media feeds for men's yoga, and it was like men's yoga, no spiritual BS. And I thought,
That's what yoga like.
I think they kind of missed the point. And somebody put in a comment below and said, so basically not yoga, you know? So what are we doing then? It's
We're
like
working out.
because yeah, we're basically working out. We're holding poses and sweating and getting stronger, but we're not including basically yoga.
That's
But isn't
so
that funny?
funny.
So the Western world, we kind of did something to yoga. So yes, did it move along kind of body awareness? Well, it does because by nature, if you're spending more time just stretching and moving, you're becoming more aware of your body for sure. But it's still, so it got us closer. But this is the cool thing. I think when we talk about somatic practices and somatic exercises, yoga is a somatic practice. And I
Yep,
think yoga in its purest form is amazing, by the way, right?
absolutely.
It's just we did something to it interesting here in the Western world, where it's not complete. It's not like all three levels of, body, mental, emotional, energetic, spiritual,
This makes me
exercise and experience.
more disdain for like spiritual stuff or whatever's like I don't know, whatever label you want to put around that was like, but not that part that's
Yeah,
not
we're not going to do
okay.
that part.
You know,
Exactly.
like I think that's really funny. And it's one of the reasons why I like the somatic practices that we teach so much is like people aren't going to think it's weird. Nobody would say to us, well, can you take the spiritual aspect out? Because it's
Mm.
very unassuming. Like you don't even have to like explain yourself or anything about it because it just feels good. It makes sense in the nervous system.
Yeah, yeah,
But it is actually that integrated mind, body,
yeah.
spirit approach. That's what it
That's
is.
what it is.
You don't have to
Exactly.
talk about it like that either,
Right.
if it
Yeah.
turns people off.
Yeah. So just kind of going back to what you were saying is that as far as meditation has come and
Funny.
yoga helping it kind of get that far, somatic practices are what is next. And as a coach, if you don't know how to use somatic practices with your client
Oh,
sessions,
you're missing out.
you are going to be a dinosaur. Like
Yeah.
you'll just be antiquated in terms of what you can actually do and
Accomplish.
searchability. And as people are searching around, they'll be like, well, they don't do somatic exercises. I guess I'm not going to work with them. Because right
It's,
now, when we look for support from professionals, if they don't know how to do somatic work, I don't even consider them.
well, I mean, me either, but also that's the same for a lot of our
Yeah,
clients.
totally. They're
Like
looking for people and they're looking, do they have any
they're
somatic training?
looking
If they don't, then
for
I don't want to do
people.
anything with them because
They're looking for people who can help them with meditation, with breath work, with gentle movement. Like those are some of the words that they use in somatic practices. Hey, I just want to say too, one of the things you can do for due diligence and so that you're really creating a practice that has just the best clients that you love to work with and love working with you is don't assume they want to do the somatic practices. Don't just assume it, but actually partner with them. And what you're
Mhm.
going to find is when you give people choice and full permission to partner with you as a coach, then they're going to be on board for all the things. But rather do that rather than assume, and lead. That's not really coaching anyway.
Yeah.
But create a partnership, and that makes it just the best.
Yeah. Can I share a little story of a client experience I just had this week
Sure.
with somebody?
Yeah.
So based on how would this actually kind of look to kind of use somatic practices in your work? So I was working with a client, and she is the CEO of her company, and she's working in collaboration with another company, and she has a long-standing relationship with the leader of this other company. and something happened between them where there was some kind of some misunderstanding and some hurt feelings around moving a business prospect forward. And without getting into all the details, there was some conflict between them. And this conflict isn't the first time that this conflict has existed. Like the client that I'm working with kind of has a pattern of having conflict with this particular person in her life. And so I was asking some questions around that. And we kind of like just started kind of hitting a wall around, well, we got to a place where we could decide, well, are we just going to start to do some strategy around how to deal with this person? We got to that point. I was like, you know what? I asked her, I said, is it okay if we just kind of get some information from your nervous system about this?
I like that.
And she's like, well, sure. And then I actually took her through the cross mapping process. We went through cross mapping, and at the end of that, which is a somatic exercise, somatic practice that we teach our students in our somatic transformation fundamentals program, took her through that process. And by the end of that process, she had identified where that pattern, like this actually, the pattern that she was in with this other leader was not the beginning of this pattern. This pattern was a historical pattern in her system, and she was able to identify when that pattern started. And then we were able to identify the meaning she was making about that pattern. And then we were able to identify how she actually wanted to feel in relationship to this new CEO. And then we were able to identify actions she could take to actually enhance that experience of how she wanted to feel, which is more confident, more empowered, more present with this other CEO. And then we were actually be able to create actions that were an expression of how she was feeling so that she could engage with the CEO in a really powerful way so that she wasn't shrinking from it. She was actually standing in her own power, but not in a combative type way. And that all happened within the matter of about 15 minutes of coaching with her. So we didn't have to do years and years of deconstruction. And by the way, none of the strategies that we would have outlined in the beginning, like when we got to that strategizing, matched up with where she was empowered coming from. And she did that all on her own by going through that somatic exercise, somatic practices. So every kind of point in a coaching session, maybe not every point, every coaching session, but oftentimes in coaching sessions, after we kind of get the story about kind of what's going on, and then we get to the what are we going to do about it kind of thing, and of course we're referencing the intelligence from our clients because they have the answers inside themselves. But the questions we're asking at coaches lead to different places of information within the person. And so we could be asking those information from an intellectual strategizing point, or we can be asking their nervous system what would be empowering for them. And when I went the nervous system route, this client came away with some really empowering action she could take. And then I just got a text from her a couple of days ago, really just so grateful, like so grateful how much the session meant to her, how powerful and how empowered she felt from it, and the actions that she's taking moving forward. So that's what I mean by the somatic exercises actually help us to get more deeper information from a person's nervous system to draw that forth from them so that they can really stand in their own power.
Yeah, yeah. I love how you asked what her nervous system had to say about it.
Yeah.
And that to me is true coaching. Like the answers live in you. And this is why I believe that at some point down the road, 10 years, 20 years, 100 years, I don't know how long, we're going to realize that
Mhm.
somatic coaching is a part of coaching and it can't be separated. Like, I think it's going to at some point be the master's degree for every
Yeah.
single coach. Because if you really do want to help a person to tap into the wisdom within themselves, you have to know how to talk to the nervous
Yeah,
system.
absolutely. Absolutely.
So, it's a great example.
Yeah. So, if this is something, again, you're interested in bringing into your practice, reach out. We have the level one somatic practice essentials program. We're doing that at Kripalu May 18th through 22nd here in 2025. We do virtual versions of that as well. Whenever you kind of listen to this podcast, we have our level two program, somatic transformation fundamentals, and then of course our level three somatic coach program. All of them are certified for ICF CCEs, so you get continuing education for all those programs.
Yep, if you're an ICF coach.
Yeah, and so we'd love to have you join us and kick this off with somatic practice essentials and get some somatic practices under your professional wing.
You won't believe, you can't even imagine all the things it can do for your professional life from a sense of enhancing how you're practicing with your clients to growing your business.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. So
yeah.
thanks so much for joining us this week, and look forward to seeing you again soon.
Bye bye.
Thank you for for listening to this episode. We hope that this conversation will help you improve your practice and change the way you think about your work, your clients, and yourself.
Continue your exploration of trauma-sensitive somatic coaching by listening to more podcast episodes at somaticcoachingacademy.com. You could be the trusted guide that people turn to help them with their most challenging situations and to reach their most precious goals. Thank you for joining us.
We'll see you next time.